Yo, what is up? Welcome and welcome back to A Stiff Receipt. So yesterday on Up Up Down Down, they had a 2-hour video premiere showing off a whole bunch of ratings for all kinds of different people. And they unveiled and showed off like a handful of minor stuff. But to get right to it, we got Becky Lynch at a 96, up from a 92 last year. I think 96 is just really high. I think this is the highest rating of any female superstar ever. I mean, Becky Lynch's numbers should be high, but I think 96 might be a tad much. Next up was Austin Theory. Austin Theory was an 80 in the last game, and he is an 82 in this game, which honestly I think is kind of low, given all that Austin Theory has done with the 2 U.S. title reigns, the Elimination Chamber, and like all the various feuds and everything else he's got going on. More than likely going to be fighting John Cena at WrestleMania. I think 82 is kind of low. I think Austin Theory should definitely be in the upper 80s for sure, but at least it's an improvement over last year. Next up is Natalya. Natalya was an 84 in the last game. I thought that was a little high. Well, this year, Natalya is now sitting at an 82. The 2-point decrease from last year. I think that's probably closer to where she should be. I was thinking more around 80, but 82, I think is fine. All right, and then we got Elias. Elias was a 75 in the last game, which is just criminal. Well, he's gone up to a 78 in this game, which I do still think is a bit low, but Elias really hasn't done a whole lot since his return. Now, on the other hand, Ezekiel is also in the game, and Ezekiel is at an 83, which funny enough, I think that's a little high. I guess Ezekiel's reign, even though it was brief, it was pretty solid. So maybe an 83 is all right. I think they both should be probably like an even 80, realistically, but then we got Bobby Lashley, who was a 91 in the last game, which I think is probably about spot on. If anything, maybe just a tad higher. But this year, Bobby Lashley goes up 1 point to 92. And, I think that's perfect. I think that is a perfect rating for Bobby Lashley. All right, next we got Damage Control. Damage Control. Dakota Kai was a 79, Bayley was an 88, and Io Sky was an 82. I think realistically, I expected all 3 of them to pretty much hover exactly where they were in the last game. But it looks like I was partially right. But Dakota Kai is up from a 79 to an 80, which, yeah, I think that's good. Bayley went up from an 88 to a 91, which I think that's a little high. I think 88 was probably like where that should have stayed, but not a big deal, obviously. And then Io Sky actually did stay the same, still at an 82. So I think, all things considered, I think that's about spot on, about kind of what I predicted. All right, then we got the New Day. Again, with like Damage Control, I figured New Day would probably hover around the same. If anything, Big E would probably go up a little bit since he had the world title run since then and all of that. But Big E was an 87, Kofi was an 88, and Xavier was an 86. All of them actually went up slightly. Big E went from an 87 to an 88, Kofi went up from an 88 to an 89, and Xavier went from an 86 to an 88. So they're all kind of hovering around the same number now. I honestly think I think all of their numbers are great. I think if I were to change any of them, I'd make Big E maybe a 90. But otherwise, I think that's pretty spot on. I think they did good with those numbers. Or then we got Liv Morgan, who was criminally low in the last game. At a 77, like she should have been like 10 points higher than that. 77 is a crime. Well, apparently they agreed, because Liv Morgan is now an 86 in the new game, which I think just is spot on. In my mind, as I said, I think Liv Morgan should have been at least 10 points higher than she was in the last game. And we got a 9-point increase, so can't complain there. Then we got Shotzi, who was a 77. I think 77 was a good number. But in this game, she has gone down to a 75. I don't really think she needed to go down, but it's minimal, right? All right, Omos. Omos was an 82 in the last game, and in the new game, he is going to stay exactly the same, 82. I think that's fun. I still feel like we've not seen Omos do like a whole lot of anything really exciting or interesting. I don't feel like he's really changed much as a character either, so I think leaving him exactly the same is probably what they should have done. All right, next we got Karrion Kross. I think Karrion Kross is an interesting one because he was an 84 in the last game, and I think 84 was too low for Karrion Kross in 2K22, but I think 84 is actually probably would be a better number for Karrion Kross now, but they actually raised his up from an 84 to an 86, which I don't know. I don't feel like he's doing better now than he was in his NXT run and whatnot. So I don't know. It seems weird to increase it now. Maybe it's because he's on the main roster doing shit that's not, you know, bad. So I don't know. I didn't think that needed to increase, but it's fine. It's fine. All right, Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman was a 90 in the last game. I think, given everything that's going on, I don't think Braun Strowman's been doing anything super impactful or amazing since he's returned. I think his rating should have definitely gone down, and they did lower it by 1 point. He is an 89 in the new game, and I think that's fine. I was thinking more around like 87 or so, but a few points, it doesn't really matter. All right, we got Queen Zelina, who she wasn't in the last game, I do not believe. She isn't a 74. Fine number. The Miz. The Miz was an 86 in the last game. I don't think The Miz has really done any better or worse than before. I think The Miz has basically just been the same for the past like 10 years, basically. So I think I assumed he'd probably stay around the same. He actually did go down a point to 85, but again, like I think that's about right. All right, next up we got the Judgment Day. So I think honestly, everybody on the Judgment Day probably should be right around exactly where they were last time. I think realistically, Rhea Ripley should have had an increase over last year. And honestly, Dominic, I feel like he was a little high last year. Now, I do think he's doing better now than he was last year, but I still think that he should be lower than what he was last year, realistically. Well, basically, they did exactly what I thought, or what I hoped they would do anyways. Rhea Ripley is up to 87 from 86. Finn Balor is an 87, was an 87 last year. Damian Priest was an 84. He was an 84 last year. And Dominic Mysterio went down a point from 79 to 78. I think right there, they freaking killed it. That's the perfect numbers for all four of them. If I could say anything, I think maybe increase Rhea Ripley by like a tad, but otherwise I think this is perfect for all of them. All right, then we got Asuka. Asuka was a 90 in the last game. I think that should stay exactly where it's at, maybe 91, 92. But they actually lowered Asuka, surprisingly, to an 89. I'm not quite sure why they would do that. I feel like Asuka's been great, and especially here recently. Maybe just the here recently is not, you know, taken into effect yet, since by the time these games come out, they're usually so outdated, you know? So, I don't know there. Then we got Dexter Lumis, who was a 79 in the last game. I definitely think Dexter Lumis needed an increase, and he was increased to an 80. Not a huge increase, but at least we're in the 80s with him. Johnny Gargano went up from an 82 to an 84, which is good to see. That dude is just amazing. He's killing it. Glad he got an increase. And then Alexa Bliss went from an 84 to an 85, which I felt like she should probably hover around the same number she did last year. So, also, I want to point out they did show some of the characters and what they look like in game. You'll see that in the screenshots I posted. Obviously, one thing I want to point out is we got screenshots and a little bit of gameplay of most all of the ratings revealed people. Judgment Day got a full, like, Rhea, Finn, and Damian all got Judgment Day attire updates. with the black and purple. But for some reason, Dominic did not. It literally looks like they used the same exact model from the last game, changed the color of the attire, but left it red and black, which is strange, and then made his hair like slightly longer. So that was kind of a weird decision, but you know, somebody will fix that in the community creations, I'm sure. Moving on over to Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler was an 84 in the last game. I think a case could be made for her rating to drop slightly, and that is what they did. It is now an 82, down 2 points. We got Happy Corbin. I really hate that we got Happy Corbin again. Like, just, oh God, it's so terrible. The gimmick is bad. The name is bad. I'm so done with Corbin. They just seem to just not be able to get Corbin right. But Corbin was an 83 in the last game, and he's going to be an 83 in this game. That he has not, I don't think he's changed at all. I feel like they keep trying really hard to repackage him and make him good, and it just doesn't work. Everything that they throw at Corbin, it just doesn't work. All right, LA Knight was an 81 in the last game. LA Knight has been killing it. I honestly think he, like what I was saying with Austin Theory, I think LA Knight should have had a massive increase up to like the upper 80s. Maybe like an 86 or something, but LA Knight stayed exactly the same at 81, which I think is a little criminal, but for sure, next year, LA Knight, mark my words, his ass will be in the upper 80s. All right, then we got the Usos. The Usos were both 85 in the last game, and it's obvious that they're going to increase over the last game, and let's be real. The Bloodline, this whole story has been wild, freaking undisputed tag team champions for like ever. There was no way that the Usos were not going to increase from an 85. And not only did they increase, but they actually made them separate numbers. 89 is what Jimmy got, up from an 85, and then Jay actually got up to 90 from 85. And you know, I think that's good. I think that's solid. I was actually not expecting either of them to be a 90, but I think, you know, I think that's probably justified, especially for Jay. All right, we got Alpha Academy. I think Alpha Academy is another one that's really sad to me. Chad Gable was a 76 in the last game, and Otis was a 77. I think Otis being a 77 is probably about right, maybe like a tad higher. Chad Gable should have been way higher. Like way higher. He should have been like mid 80s, maybe a little lower, maybe like an 83 or an 84, in my opinion. And boy, did they do Chad Gable dirty in this game. They increased him by 1 point to a 77. And then they gave Otis a freaking 80. In what reality? Would Otis have a higher rating than Chad Gable? Is it just because he's such a large man? Like, I don't know. That I felt that like was super strange, and I feel like they both got kind of done dirty on this one. I don't know. And I'm gonna be real. I think the same could be said about Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, the Street Profits. I think the rating, I believe the rating was Angelo Dawkins was an 80 and Montez Ford was an 82 in the last game, and that's exactly what happened in this game. They were the same. I think that is way too low for the both of them. Like one of the better tag teams in WWE right now, and Montez Ford being Montez Ford, an 80 and an 82? No, they need to be mid, maybe like lower, upper mid 80s, in my opinion. And then we've got all of these tag team ones. I feel like are really strange to me. The last one we've got is Brawling Brutes. Sheamus is an 87, up from an 85. I think that's fair. It's Sheamus. Ridge Holland, I do not believe was in the last game. He is at an 81. And Butch in the last game was an 81, and he's an 81 in this game. It's wild to me to like put the Brawling Brutes at an 81, but then Angelo Dawkins at an 80, and then Montez Ford at 82. Like, those two dudes are just leagues better than the Brawling Brutes. So I don't know. I think all three of these teams are really weird in how they rated them. But that's just my opinion. All right, then we had Ricochet. Ricochet was an 82 in the last game, which was criminally low in my opinion, and he's an 82 in the new one too. Like, why? It's Ricochet. Freaking Ricochet, man. Ricochet is amazing. His ass should at the very least be an 85. Bianca Belair up next. She was an 87 in the last game, and given her title run and everything else, I think absolutely she needed to increase over last year, and boy, did she. She's increased to a staggering 95, just right under Becky Lynch, which, you know, I think that's probably a good number for her, honestly. Drew McIntyre, 91 in the last game and staying in the 91 in this game. I think that's perfect. I think Drew should stay exactly where he's at. I think 91 is a good number for Drew. Raquel Rodriguez, 81 in the last game. There's no way that she was not going to increase in the new game. She's been killing it. She has gone up from 81 to 83. I still think that might be a tad low, honestly, but it's good to see that it increased. And we got a random one. So apparently, as they showed on Up, Down, Down, they unveiled that Xavier Woods and Tyler Breeze are going to be selectable GMs in GM mode. And when unveiling that information, they confirmed that Tyler Breeze is playable as a legend in the new game. So I thought that was interesting. I wonder if he'll actually be labeled as a legend or how that'll work. Not sure, but I thought that was kind of interesting. And Tyler Breeze is going to be a 77, which I believe is exactly what he was in the last game. And to cap off this already too long video, the final number. All right, and the last one we have is Cody Rhodes. So Cody Rhodes is an interesting one. The last time Cody Rhodes appeared in a video game for WWE was WWE 2K15. And in WWE 2K15, he was an 87. Which is actually surprisingly high. Ratings were probably done a little bit different back then because, you know, it's been a while. But the last time he's actually appeared in a video game, not as under Cody Rhodes, obviously, was actually 2K17, where he was in the game as Stardust. And Stardust was at a really unfortunate 74. Well, Cody's made this huge name for himself in the Indies and in AEW. And he's come back to the WWE. He wins the Royal Rumble. He's just been having some absolutely banger matches with Seth Rollins and whatnot. And obviously his rating in this new game was going to be high. The last game he was in 2K17 as Stardust, 74. Cody Rhodes has had a 17-point increase. From a 74 all the way to a 91, which is just wild to see. 91, I think that is perfect. There was no shot Cody Rhodes is going to end up being anything lower than a 90. There's just no way. So glad to see they hit that and got that. 91 for Cody is great. And there were a couple more legends shown off in their ratings, which, I mean, we already knew these two were going to be in the game and that they probably wouldn't change much over from last game. The Undertaker is a 95. That's a 5-point increase from last game. Realistically, I think they probably just did that because the last game had so many different Undertakers in it. So they were kind of gauging what Undertaker should have what. Like, obviously, current Undertaker shouldn't be, like, higher than, like, you know, American Badass Undertaker or even older than that, right? So since this game has one Undertaker, 95, I think that's fine given that he's, you know, just one legend character in this game. And then The Rock actually got a 3-point increase from 93 to 96, which, I mean, I don't know what The Rock has done since last year to raise his rating by 3 points, but whatever, it's The Rock, I guess. Who cares? So now we have 200 confirmed people on the roster for 2K23. We still have a lot of ratings that still need to be unveiled and whatnot. I don't know if they'll show them all like beforehand or if they'll leave some to you just got to figure out when you get the game. But we've got, I think, a little less than 20 days now till the game comes out. So are you guys hyped? Let me know in the comment section below. I've already got it pre-ordered and hoping for the best. As I said, as long as it's is at least as good as the last game, I think I'll be content, even though there was some pretty awful bugs I had to deal with. But overall, even with the bugs, it was still a pretty enjoyable game. Hopefully we at least get that in the new game. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. I know this was a little bit of a longer one, but if you've not liked the video, you should definitely do so. We're going to continue to keep up with the news for WWE 2K23, news for AEW Fight Forever, and news in actual real-life wrestling. Be sure to subscribe if you've not done so. Anyways, I'm outie. Peace out. Take it easy. Have a good one, and I will see you guys all next time.